Today is Lesson 5 on Leif Erikson. It's highly likely that you've traveled for leisure at least once in your life. This means you've traveled somewhere just to take in the new sights of the place. You were looking for an experience, and chances were you or your parents did not have to think too hard about where to stay or how to get food. Hundreds of years ago, travel was almost solely for the purpose of discovery. In fact, it was far safer and more preferable to stay at your home, on your farm, or within the city walls. To travel meant you were brave, prepared, and maybe even had the support of a king or a queen sending you to discover these new lands. Even more exhilarating is that your destination was also completely unknown. Since we spent the last week's lessons gaining an understanding of the people who already lived on the American soil, it's time to shift our focus to those who were off exploring the world. Many cultures were venturing out past their borders, exploring the vast oceans and lands far away. Have you heard of the name Christopher Columbus? He was an early explorer who received most of the glory for discovering America. We will learn more about his journey in our next lesson, but there were many other explorers who played important roles in both the discovery and the settlement of North America. Today, we will sail to learn about one of the earliest pioneers not only to discover, but to settle on. Leif Erikson. They say we can choose our friends, but we cannot choose our family. For most of us, our families are a source of both incredible comfort and occasional challenges. For Leif Erikson, a Norse Viking, I imagine his family was a bit more challenging than most. You see, Leif was the son of Eric the Red, a great explorer, but also a murderer who was banished from his home in Iceland for killing his neighbor. On top of that, Leif's grandfather was also a convicted murderer who was banished from his home in Norway. In the Bible, the book of Exodus speaks about something called generational sin. This is when one generation after another finds itself caught up in the sins of its parents. It's not until the Holy Spirit changes people's hearts that they are able to escape this cycle. And while we can never truly know a man's heart, it seems this might have been what happened to Leif. Though he grew up in Greenland, Leif eventually decided to return to his ancestral home of Norway. While he was there, he converted to Christianity. While God is the only one who knows someone's heart, we do not know that Leif then returned to Greenland to share his new faith with his family. While his father did not convert, his mother apparently did. She took her new faith so seriously that she started Greenland's first Christian church. After his return to Greenland, Leif's story became a little more complicated. This is because there are two different legends about how he ended up in North America. You should know, unfortunately, many Norse people were caught up in generational sin. A quick study of the Vikings showcases the violence they were known for. Vikings had a bad reputation, and for good reason. Over the years, history has described them as godless raiders and murderers, best known for attacking villages, destroying churches, and conquering cities by force. While the stories may be true of some, not all Vikings were involved in these atrocities. Many Vikings, Leif Erikson included, were great explorers who aided in the expansion of the known world at the time. In the saga of Eric the Red, we are told that Leif crossed the Atlantic Ocean by mistake as he was trying to make his way from Norway to Greenland. However, in the saga of the Greenlanders, the story goes that he set sail intentionally after hearing rumors of a strange land out west. According to this tale, Erikson bought a ship, assembled a crew, and set sail on a mission. Regardless of how he ended up there, we do not know that sometime around 1000 AD, Leif Erikson came ashore on North America. Not pleased with the rocky, barren terrain of his original landing site, his crew made its way south, making several stops before finally settling in what today is known as Newfoundland, Canada. We know that this crew created a settlement there and likely enjoyed the beautiful landscape, lush vegetation, and plentiful food. They named the area Vinland and spent at least one winter there. However, Erikson and his crew were not alone in this beautiful land. If you'll recall from our previous chapters, there were already indigenous Americans living throughout North America, including where Erikson settled with his men. There are several accounts of violence between the Vikings and the Mi'kmaq tribe, and eventually the conflict escalated to the point that the Viking explorers headed back across the Atlantic. But they did not go empty-handed. They returned with wood and grapes, resources which were desperately needed back in barren place like Greenland. Despite the abundance of vegetation and resources available in Vinland, the Vikings did not attempt to settle there again. Instead, they traveled back and forth, trading with the indigenous Americans for the next several years. While there are historical documents containing the story of Erikson's voyage across the Atlantic, it was not until 1960 actual proof of his settlement was found. Norwegian explorer Helga Ingsteg discovered the remains of a Norse village which dates back to approximately 1000 AD, right around the time Leif Erikson and his men would have settled in Newfoundland. What we've learned. While Leif Erikson is not credited with the discovery of America, he was the first recorded explorer to settle in North America. Because of his discovery and its impact on trade and exploration, it's important to remember his name as we reflect on the explorers who crossed the ocean to reach a new land. You probably know that Christopher Columbus has enjoyed a national holiday for quite some time. But did you know that October 9th has been called Leif Erikson Day since 1964? And I didn't know that, but I looked it up, and it is true. They don't have a holiday on October 9th, but it is Leif Erikson Day, which I was really surprised of. Just thought I'd add that. So that concludes our Lesson 5.